Welcome to the Sports Show. What a Sunday, what a week, what a weekend to recap. Mike, Max, Patrick, Royce, Lavelli, Neil, Bob Lurtsma off the bench for Sid Hartman. You've come off the bench before.
Never for Sid. He came in for Alan Page and jumps like that. He never came in for Sid.
This is the best sack of my career right now. Taking Sid.
All right. Forget Alan Page.
Plus, everybody out there is probably happy with my sack, too, right?
Yeah, right.
Sid's a little under the weather. Tell me about the Vikings today.
Oh, absolutely brutal. I mean, the last 3 weeks...
Were you pleased they were competitive today, or just did you think this was just...
No, you know, the part that's sad is that... So I believe coaching is 60 to 65% of the game. I'll go to my
Every sport or NFL?
NFL. Okay. That's what I played, and I know it. They get between your ears, you know, of a player, and all of a sudden you're thinking all the time. You take away your reaction, your aggressiveness. So today they came out, and I really like the no-huddle offense. I'm saying now he's relaxed. He's getting rid of the ball quicker. Everything's going the way it should go with him. And then sure enough, the second half, they changed things up again. The defense doesn't come up with a play again for the third straight week. Actually, probably the seventh straight week, because they could have won the
they had
two of the
A.J.
first
Jefferson had a nice pick.
Oh, yeah.
Finally, number one.
Finally, 175 throws.
Yeah, how about
they finally
that?
picked one
I
off.
want to know how they had those statistics already. Did you notice that? It's just like, boom.
Well, they came in without a cornerback's interception. So.
Yep.
Yeah, but no, the thing that bothers me is that the rotation. I'm talking defensive line, and I believe it or not, out there, I've played 12 years, you know, over 8 years as a regular. Right.
But you studied a lot. You remember a lot of things.
I remember that. But you can't rotate the linemen all the time. You got to stay out there and get a feel for the game. All of a sudden, you can pick up certain tips. You know, the halfback will have his butt up a little bit higher when he's going to flare to his left. The whites of the knuckles on an offensive lineman, and you know, you can tell how they're going to block. Excuse me. And then you got them set up for an inside move or an outside move. There's no flow to it for the lineman.
Let me just stop you there, because that's
I'm really wrong.
That's the most insight we've had on a Viking question from this seat to start the show.
My mind's exploding right now.
I love those
What do you
guys.
think?
I thought they looked pretty good the first half. Then I got on a plane in Phoenix.
And
so
when
I
you
don't know
landed-
what happened. When I landed, they lost. So I saw that they gave up another one in the last minute. The defense looked pretty good from what I saw, and actually played competitively. And you know, the safeties, that Sandejo kid who looked completely lost 2 weeks ago, came up and hit a couple of people, and they, you know, they looked. Dallas. I thought Dallas might get 40 on them the way they've been playing defense. So, but you know what? I think Viking fans in general, Lurtsy, were happy today because they looked a little competitive and they still lost. So there's a good chance to get that draft choice.
That's right. That's right. Well, I want to ask you about the defensive line, because I was doing some cheating before I came here, and the story in our paper tomorrow. I have some defensive players not happy with the defensive approach on the final drive of the game. I guess they pulled back one of the defensive linemen into coverage, and they said we should have kept putting pressure on the quarterback.
I do not believe in having a defensive lineman in coverage ever. Number one, if you watch Jared Allen when he has coverage, he'll tip because he'll drop his butt back. His hand will go up.
So they know if you're watching close.
So he tips.
Telegraphs, yeah.
Yeah, so they pick it up. But that's not what you know, you're 260, 280, 300 pounds. You haven't been brought up to have pass coverage. You don't know what to read.
You're paying Jared Allen $12 million a year or whatever it is for one reason. To get close to the quarterback, to make him uncomfortable. Yeah. Right?
See, in a situation like that, too, they have to make the defensive line where you're disciplined. And I know inside the 10, a lot of times they get out of their lanes.
Because why?
Because you can't let the quarterback step.
But I mean, why do they get out of their lanes? Why do they get undisciplined?
Because they're trying to make a play rather than...
Too hard?
Too hard. You know, they're going to slant.
So my question to you is, this defensive line is supposed to be a team strength. Kevin Williams, Brian Robinson, and Jared Allen, namely, then you draft Floyd. It has not appeared to be that way. I don't see great pressure, or you know, it doesn't seem like they're shut stuff in the run. Has it gotten old overnight? What do you see? Well,
2 years ago when they won, you know, they were around the 4-3 with double coverage. Now they seem to slant the linemen, the defensive linemen. Now they're slanting them. And once you go into a slant, a defensive lineman will fill his gap, and then he'll say, well, my job's done. And he'll shut down.
But is that age or is that strategy?
That's, unfortunately, that's the way the defense is run. and the players haven't got the drive. Somebody's got to drive them, give them a kick in the butt.
I don't know. Last year they were a surprise team. They were 10-6, and I have no idea where this came from. How can they be 1-8?
The drop-off is
They
unbelievable.
were supposed to be on the way up. What
Yeah,
happened?
they're
How can they
changing-
be this
changing,
rotten?
Pat.
They didn't change any personnel.
Yeah, but they've changed the stunts and everything before they ever go
I
on
know,
Perry
but that's
Mason.
not why they're 1-8, Lurch, because they changed the stunts. It's because the defense has played awful.
Wait. When you play the game, if you, like I said earlier, get between the ears, and if you slant to the right and shut down your engine and don't pursue, creates a big gap, because if you're head over the guard, if you're a tackle, you read the center, the guard, and the tackle. And you get off that ball as fast as you can, and you're reading those three people.
Why don't they
in the
go back to
backs.
what they were doing?
What'd you do last year, Lurch?
Yep.
Do that.
Why can't you go back to
Do
what they're
that.
doing last year? Because the secondary, I think coming into the season, the secondary was a question mark to start with. Now, with no pressure on the quarterback, it's making the secondary look even
you
worse.
can make a case that the defense played about as well as it's played the last one.
today,
Yeah, it's a little
that's
bit
as
better.
good as they can play.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, what do you
anyway, the
think?
first half, what I saw, I didn't see the second half.
Yeah, they gave it up to Witten a couple of times, but they didn't give up that many yards in the ground. They didn't give up that many big plays.
No, but you have to put pressure on the quarterback. You've got it on third
Yeah,
and long.
they weren't
You can't let
mistakes.
them on 3rd and 17. Let
Yeah,
them
but
get a
Tony
first
Romo's
down.
better than they are. That's the problem.
Oh,
Tony Romo's
no,
better than they are.
What do you guys are teaming up again?
We're not
I don't
teaming.
know what you guys are.
We just want answers.
They covered the spot.
Well,
What's
I'm
the
telling
problem?
you the answer. You don't like the
They
answer.
lost and they covered the number.
Why don't you talk
Perfect.
about the offensive line when they're sliding and nobody's picking up the blitz man? They're coming off the guard or the tackle, and the guy's coming.
We
can
got more to go. We got more to go. Take a break. Come back.
No, we don't.
The Sports Show is brought to you in part by Canterbury Park 24/7 Card Club. Don't forget the Card Club at Canterbury Park. Cambria, makers of quality quartz surfaces. Call 1-866-CAMBRIA. Ticket King. For the best price on tickets anywhere, try Ticket King. Soundpoint Audiology. Life is worth hearing. And Cuisine Concepts. Bar Abilene at Lagoon and Fremont in uptown Minneapolis. And Franklin Street Bakery at 11th and Franklin in South Minneapolis, just down from Mall of America Field. And Taste of the NFL. Proud to be the premier Super Bowl party with a purpose to support hunger relief locally and nationally.
Yeah, the basketball coach is in there this weekend. What a time for all of them, as it always is at J.D. Hoyt. Stop on by anytime. Anytime is game time at J.D. Hoyt's. Great meal downtown Minneapolis. Welcome
Big
back.
John Thompson, speaking of basketball coaches, that's his favorite. That was his favorite restaurant. It was good enough for Big John. It was
When
good
would he
enough
be in
for all
town,
of us.
though?
Right. Oh, back with the Final Four when he was here. Yeah.
Okay. Lurchie, you played, Fran Tarkenton was your quarterback in New York, and the Vikings, there was no dispute. What's this like to have this rotating thing? What's that like for a team?
Well, the sad part is the timing aspect.
Do you think
What
Ponder
say?
can play?
Yes, he's got to get rid of the ball quicker. There's no doubt about that. But I was really, really disappointed in the last pass. Couldn't even get it to the end zone on 55 yards.
I was surprised
Throw
by
in
that, too.
Joe
I thought
Webb,
everybody
throw
in
deep.
the
Yeah.
NFL could throw that one, you know.
Yeah. And-
Or step up into the pocket a little bit and
Yeah, I just assume anybody at that level could throw
Yeah,
the
he
ball.
looked bad on that throw.
Lurchie, you were here for the three quarterbacks, weren't you? Were you here for...
No, because that's why they traded for
Bobby
Tarkenton.
Lee. No, I know.
He came with Tarkenton.
Okay.
Remember?
Yeah,
So-
Tarkenton.
You weren't here for Snead, Quazzo, and Bobby Lee, right?
No,
The
Snead
one-
and Quazzo, I played
And
with
Bobby
in New
Lee.
York.
And Bobby Lee.
And then with the Colts. Yeah.
They did that and didn't work.
Didn't work.
However, they did once win a game against the Packers, I believe, when they had 60 yards in total offense and something like that. So
Now, that was a
with those
defense,
guys,
huh?
That was a pretty good defense. yeah.
Wow.
That was
Ponder
3-0.
tells me, Lavelle, that he doesn't mind
3-0,
this.
just
and
lay
he-
around Thanksgiving.
that he can, his confidence isn't shaken by that. I said, how can you possibly go week by week and not know your status until Friday? Do you think anybody can do well?
Why in the hell did he put his house up for sale then?
You know why? He told me. Well, he told me. I talked to him about it. It's 45-minute commute for her to the airport, and it's 25 minutes for him. So they moved out a long time ago. Now they put it up for sale. I think you can translate that as I accused him, but he wouldn't confirm. I said, it was a bachelor pad, and his wife said, I don't like this.
The couple of pictures we had on our website, it looked like there was a man cave going on, and some serious man cave action in the basement. So
That's a guess.
surprised. Not knowing from week to week if you're starting, it's got to play with your mind a little bit here. I can't see how he's going to say the right thing and say it's not bothering him, but there's no way he can't. It's messing with him. Castle's got to be asking himself, why did I sign here?
Yeah.
And now you got the Freeman thing, which it's almost off into another subset here because we don't know if he's.
Do you think Freeman services before the end of the year as a starter?
Well, either that or why didn't they give us the?
I don't know.
Why didn't they give us the $2.5 million to help with the dome? Maybe we could have got one of those amenities that they're worried about in the Taj Mazzigi. If they're going to burn $2.5 million, they should have used it on the stadium.
Yeah.
Another little more marble instead of linoleum.
$3 million. So they're going to get that. No, with Freeman, they put him in a bad situation. You have all these off-season training camps.
Do you
where
think
learn.
ultimately he can play or not?
From what I've heard, he has a strong arm. He doesn't read as fast as you would with a Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
A little slow on his reads. Got
Can
a
you
great
correct
arm.
that with video
great
work
kid.
or not?
You have to limit what plays you're going to call for him.
Okay.
You've got to play within his strength. Don't go outside that frame. It's like they went when they went outside of Joe Webb in the Packer game. Right. He was doing good running. Why do you want to all of a sudden go deep? You got to coach to the strength of the ball player.
Well, and unfortunately, they don't have a quarterback that has shown strengths at the point. And in this league right now, what the heck?
It's almost like they got to change the rules because great quarterbacks are such an advantage over.
Well, who goes for somebody who went for foursome today?
Nick Foles.
Nick Foles.
7 touchdown passes today
Seven
for
touchdowns and 450 yards. Nick Foles.
Yeah,
for goodness sakes.
And had the ball in the fourth quarter with a chance to go for eight touchdown.
Yeah. This is like arena football, the way they're getting it set up. As far as the rules go for the defensive backs. And
Contact and everything, yeah.
The other thing that's bothering me is, you're running so fast, this head-to-head and all this stuff. You can't, right now, all of a sudden go like this all the time. I mean, these penalties.
Yeah, you can and you can't. I mean, they slow it down. You can see the way the head's moving. But we all have our reactions fast enough where you can get off it.
Well, I'm glad they picked up the flag on the one play. I can't remember which defensive back for the Vikings hit the receiver for the Cowboys, and they threw it.
Pad to pad.
And they conferred and picked it up, and the replay showed he led with his shoulder. It wasn't his helmet.
So, Patrick, do you think this team gets to a point at 10 games where they start playing for the draft pick?
Are we sure they haven't?
That's what I'm saying. I think if the Vikings play the way they've been playing, it'll take care of itself. They don't have to change the way they're playing.
If they play for the draft choice, fire all the players. When you start thinking that way, I'm sorry.
I don't think it'll be like 84 with Les. I don't think it'll be like 84 with Les Steckel where they quit. If they had a hangnail, they said they couldn't play because they didn't want to play for him.
And don't players play for their contracts? They play for their careers. They're playing to have good videotape for other teams to want them. And the guys who contracts are expiring, they could find incentives to play.
The guy who should be embarrassed by this is Spielman, if you ask me. He's created this chaos at quarterback. He brought in Josh Freeman. He's, he let the defense. He went into the season with big questions in the secondary that came back to bite him. I think Spielman should be embarrassed by this mess.
I think he is.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the situation is such that the constant change. But before I go there. You got 3 number 1 draft choices. You got to play them. I mean, they got to have more time.
Well, there's got to be a reason Cordero.
Green Bay, they had 50 players that only played for the Packers that dressed for it.
But I'm saying, there's got to be a reason Cordero Patterson's not playing. It's not because they're stubborn. He's got to, there's got to be a reason that the only thing they ever do is throw him a little non-screen pass. There's got to be something. He must not know which direction to run. He must start running left instead of right.
I think it's more his hands.
Well, there's a reason.
But when the ball's in his hands, he does great stuff with it.
I think it's his ability to catch a football.
How about aptitude?
I think,
I'll
take you one more. I think if Cordero Patterson would have grown up playing basketball too, and he only played a little bit of it, he'd be fine. But he didn't play basketball.
Yeah. Like this guy.
You've done it right.
Former great
everything. You put that thing and boom.
Michigan Tech.
No, not Michigan Tech.
No, that's where he started, Michigan Tech.
Oh, Western Michigan. No, you and Greg Jennings.
You were a hooper at Michigan
Greg Jennings came up to me and said, I'm dying to meet you. You're a Western Michigan Bronco, too, aren't you? Yeah, Mr. Jennings.
Take a break. Stay with us. Go for football.
The Sports Show is brought to you in part by Allery's, the original St. Paul sports bar, now with 65 beers on tap. The Sports Show is brought to you in part by Case Law, for all your legal needs, not your typical law firm. Griffin Bail Bonds. It's better to know us and not need us than to need us and not know us. And Perfect Ash, that tobacco place in Lilydale where you're only a stranger once.
Audi Minneapolis, stop on by 394 and General Mills Boulevard. Drive away in a Q7 or a Q5. Perfect for all seasons and great people, great sports fans out there. Welcome back to the Sports Show. I was in Indiana yesterday watching the Gophers, and I got thanks to Mr. Ames out there and his great crew. We had a great time.
I was sitting in Moon's Sports Bar.
Did you get the Big Ten Network
in
there?
Phoenix, watching the fourth quarter with my two sons who were big Gopher fans, and they were very nervous as Indiana was going down the field.
I was sitting with
when
a
it
couple
was
former Gophers.
42-39, and I said, fellas, don't worry. Indiana's better at losing than we ever thought of it. I said, Indiana's are experts at losing football games. Don't worry. If they were playing anybody but Indiana, you could be nervous.
And by the way, they play Indiana once in 10 years with the new Big Ten. They don't play them again until 2018.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so with the new schedule coming in. So that's rivalry that you guys were trying to paint for the Gophers in Indiana. It's not going to happen like you thought it was. Hardly an atmosphere
Okay, I
in
got
there.
two things to ask you. How stupid is the coach that he goes for two? First
That
of all.
early?
First, no. Why is he going for two to make it 41-35? Are you counting on a missed extra point? If you're going to put your future on a missed extra point, you're an idiot.
Right.
So you kick the point, it's 42. Now, it's 41. Now you
Now
can
you
win a
need a
game.
field goal.
Now the other team's got to go for two. The Gophers are the team that's got to go for two, right? To get ahead once they score the touchdown. So you can win a game with a field goal. What a dummy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you're either throwing a ball down the middle for 20 yards or running up the middle for 20 yards. So let's throw a lateral
A
pass.
play he had not called the entire game.
Yeah.
All right, then how dumb is he not to call timeouts in the last minute
Yes.
on the Indiana coach? And then how dumb are the Minnesota coaches not to kneel?
Good
Why are you giving them an opportunity to maybe
don't know.
beat you? You're in field goal range.
Let's go back to Minnesota. But first of all, there's no atmosphere there at Indiana because there couldn't have been 30,000 people.
Well, we saw the stands.
Yeah, but second,
So what do they do with the coaches?
Minnesota traveled well, but third, Jerry Kill in the booth down. They've won. They're 7-2. They're the story of the year in Minnesota right now.
I was so excited. I'm a
Tell
season
me
ticket
about
holder.
this, though. What happened? Because we had them. I was there in Michigan. I said, I don't think they're going to win a Big Ten game. I don't know what's going to happen with Coach Kill, and they've been lights out. Tell me what happened in your mind.
Well, I think the offense really picked up the pace big time. That Nelson came through. He had 4 touchdowns yesterday. He had that clutch 50-yarder to Williams. No, he's the one that's picked up a lot of the slack.
Well, he's part of it.
Was the pass
Oh,
to the
that's part of
tight
it.
end the same play they ran? 4 wide and run the tight end down the middle that they
Max
ran again?
Williams caught a pass.
This was
Max
Max
Williams.
Williams, but the week before they ran it to Drew Gouger. Right?
No, it was different. It was different.
Play?
It was different the way that it was run.
Pat,
But
but you saw how can they not call timeout? Either coach
I don't know.
in the last minute.
But
How-
it is amazing
Come on,
what the
somebody get on my
offense has
side.
I don't have
done.
an answer for you, though.
The offense has done the last 2 weeks since they played without being afraid. They were playing afraid until the last 2 weeks.
Kyle's getting in the running game, too.
and they found a running back.
Yeah.
Their third-team running back's their first-team running back, and he's the best they got.
Credit to the offensive line. He had some nice holes to run through, but he broke some tackles, too, and
Well,
extended
here's
some
the
plays.
thing about Indiana on defense, too. You can see
They're
this.
awful.
They
Yeah.
gamble. So they look really good first down, second down, but they gamble in the whole time. So eventually, you always get something.
That coach wants a shootout. He
Right.
knows what he has defensively.
And they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
Indiana's fun to watch.
He wants to run a play every 8 seconds.
That's the quickest
Well,
I've
they're
ever
going to
seen.
beat Penn State. Penn State's got no offense at all. They're going to be 8-2.
I don't know.
and
They
then-
couldn't handle Illinois. Your
Then they're
team.
gonna- then they're gonna be 8-2.
I mean, they handled Illinois.
It took
They're gonna be
overtime. I was
8-2,
surprised they
and
struggled
then-
that much.
Then they got Wisconsin, Michigan State. Then it's not going to be.
Man, you get to 8 wins this year with what it looked like going in.
Yeah.
Well, let's not close the schools and start scheduling parades. I mean, they're making steps. They're better, but we're talking about the battle of mediocre teams in the Big Ten. So,
Well, you got Ohio State, clearly.
yeah.
And then after that,
And
I
after
don't know.
that, there's a drop-off.
Yeah.
about
But in these
Nebraska?
parts, you can't.
I'm not trying to take anything away from the Gophers.
Nebraska came within a moment of getting rid of Bo Pelini, though. That would have been it. I don't think he would
be
have
the
made
Northwestern
it.
Hail
game.
Mary, yeah.
No,
That
it
was
was
great.
Nebraska. They pulled it out in the last play.
Yeah, against Northwestern.
Yes.
You lose back-to-back to Minnesota and Northwestern, you ain't coming back.
How
They
about
were
Northwestern 0-5 in the Big Ten?
I know they're that close.
How
you
about
know?
Bo's brother?
That's a little trouble.
Getting fired for smoking a little dope.
How about that?
Whoa, I've heard players, but coaches, take a break, come back.
Trying to bond.
The Sports Show is brought to you in part by Case Law. For all your legal needs, not your typical law firm. Griffin Bail Bonds. It's better to know us and not need us than to need us and not know us. And Perfect Ash, that tobacco place in Lilydale where you're only a stranger once.
They'll all be there. Vikings.com/taste. Taste of the NFL. Great night. Bob Lurtzman will be there and others. He'll sign flat out. Remember, flat items only.
No jerseys. No jerseys. No Lurch jerseys.
No.
I had the same jersey my whole career.
Patrick, the Wild have turned it a little bit. Timberwolves have
Yes.
been fun for a few games.
Yes.
What's your thoughts?
Hey, I'm not a big winter sports guy. It kind of bores me.
You mean the regular season? Or
Well, it just lasts forever, and everybody makes the playoffs, and even college basketball doesn't do it for me anymore because of the, what difference does it make, who wins a regular season game? But it's nice if they're competitive.
Fall League you saw in Arizona.
I saw the Fall League.
Baseball thoughts and World Series from Lavelle.
Buxton's an athlete.
Oh, yeah, he's an athlete.
We'll have to see what happens with the getting the head of the bat to the ball. But the one thing I don't like is you throw him a cookie on the first pitch and he takes it.
That would
He
change.
doesn't like to swing.
And
He reminds me of a guy we got up here who won't hit a cookie right down the middle of the plate,
Hey,
but I don't want to name
Patrick,
any
what does
names.
this mean?
He
This
can
is
make
this-
adjustments, though. It looks like this kid can make adjustments.
But this is the president of the baseball. How do I
This
understand
is
it?
the president, and there's only two living presidents of the BBWAA and from Minnesota, and you're looking at both of them. How about That's right.
The Sports Show is brought to you in part by Canterbury Park 24/7 Card Club. Don't forget the Card Club at Canterbury Park. Cambria, makers of quality quartz surfaces. Call 1-866-CAMBRIA. Ticket King. For the best price on tickets anywhere, try Ticket King. Soundpoint Audiology. Life is worth hearing. And Cuisine Concepts. Bar Abilene at Lagoon and Fremont in uptown Minneapolis. And Franklin Street Bakery at 11th and Franklin in South Minneapolis, just down from Mall of America Field. And Taste of the NFL. Proud to be the premier Super Bowl party with a purpose to support hunger relief locally and nationally.